Hey guys, I got one hell of a deck tech for you today. With the new Modern Horizons 3 set that just came out not too long ago, we have an updated version of our Historic Elves deck list. And this is so much more fun than the last one. If you thought the last deck was crazy, getting all the mana in the world and just continuously casting stuff, this has even more versatility. Full disclosure, this is a deck list from MTG Joe. So I will go ahead and link to his channel in the description. Amazing decks that I've seen him create, and I absolutely adore this one. Again, mono green, historic elves, but with one of my favorite things to add into any deck, and that is a Karn sideboard. So we're going to go ahead and start things off with a deck tech. I am going to go pretty in-depth for this. You can play this deck best of 3. We are going to play it best of 1 this time around, and if you would like to skip straight to the matches, go ahead and skip to that timestamp right there. So, but for those of you who want to see what we got going on, this is a little bit more advanced of a deck list because there were a lot of cards that were added into Modern Horizons 3. It's very much shaken up the meta in this world with all of these new Boros energy decks and cat decks and life gain decks. It's everywhere, and I've just been having fun slamming down some elves and casting a heck of a lot of things. So to start off with this deck tech, we do have our standard 2 Allosaurus Shepherds. Green spells can't be countered. It's a 1 mana for 1/1. And it also has a good mana sink, 6 mana to turn all elves into dinosaurs as well, and they all become 5/5. So great way to end out the game, and a great card to have in the deck. Helps with any blue decks that you might be facing. We got 4 Elvish Mystics, as well as 4 Lana War Elves. Basically, it's a 1 mana 1/1 that taps for a green. If you don't know this card, then you might have just started playing Magic, but it's very standard in any elf deck, and you see it a lot early on in Magic. We then have a new 1/1 joining the team. This is our only non-elf in the deck. This is a 1 mana for 1. 1 mana for 1. This is a 1 mana 1/1 insect that allows you to return an elf you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, and activate this only once per turn. It's a great way to get some recursion in the deck, but at the same time it can protect your creatures in the sense, or in case there's any board wipes or any spot removal. You can just untap your own elf and return that back to your hand. Or, even if you don't need to untap something, you just tap the creature, return it back to your hand, bam, you got it back. If it's a single target removal, then you got it back for free. If it's a board wipe, then now you got 1 extra card in your hand. Elvish Warmaster, this was a card we saw in our previous deck. This is a 2 mana 2/2. Whenever 1 or more elves enters the battlefield on your turn, create a 1/1 green elf warrior, and it only triggers once per turn. So this is a great card, great value engine to get a bunch of elves on the battlefield. We'll see some payoff to that later. And it also has a tap for 7, or not tap for 7, but a 7 mana ability that gives all of your elves +2/+2 and gains death touch. That's huge. I've had people surrender the game because they attacked me and forgot that my elves had death touch. It was kind of funny. So a great staple card in these elvish decks. We then have Priest of Titania. This is a brand new card. It is a 2 mana 1/1. Being a 1/1 does kind of suck, but she taps for a forest for green mana for each elf on the battlefield. This card gives so much advantage when I'm facing the other elf decks. It's crazy. And if I'm not facing elf decks, I've faced some green decks that have Lana War Elves for some early energy, and this taps for even more mana just because of that. So it's another wonderful card. We then have a great card to return back to your hand with our Wirewood Symbiote. This is a 2 mana 1/1 with Reach, and when it enters the battlefield, it seeks for an elf card. Seeking means it just searches the library for a random one. So this gets us some Reach in the deck, which we previously did not have, gets us some card draw, and can also be used as a value engine with Wirewood Symbiote later on with our next card, that being Leaf Crown Visionary. This is a 2 mana 1/1. It is a lord, so all elves get +1/+1, and whenever you cast an elf spell, you can pay 1 to draw a card. So great with Priest, and also, if you are bouncing the Sky Shroud Lookout with Wirewood, you are going to be able to recast the Sky Shroud and potentially draw more cards off of that. You also can recast your Sky Shroud to get more Elvish War Master triggers, or to get your first Elvish War Master triggers. Let's say you ran out of gas, well, there you go. When it comes into the 3 mana spot, we have Elvish Archdruid. This is another staple. It is a 3 mana 2/2 that is at Lord as well, and taps for a green mana for each elf you control. So just another great card, great way to get a bunch of mana throughout the game. We then have a new Planeswalker that we'll be playing, 3 mana. For a 4 loyalty Planeswalker, her +1 is to untap target elf. That elf and a random elf in your hand gets +1/+1 perpetually. She has a -1 to seek an elf, which is great when you're really running out of things to cast throughout your hand. And her -6, which I have gotten to a few times, conjures a card named Regal Force onto the battlefield, which draws cards for each green creatures you control. You can see that off to the right. And it's a great card when you got a bunch of mana, you don't know what to do. -6er, there you go. You're going to go ahead and draw a bunch of cards, and the game's basically over at that point. Then we have our Karn the Great Creator. He is a 4 mana, 4 colorless for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. He does have a passive ability of active abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated, which has saved me a few times. His +1 makes a non-creature artifact gain toughness and power equal to its mana value. We don't really use the +1 too much, but his -2 really is what brings him into the game. You can reveal an artifact you own from outside of the game, so this would be from our sideboard, and you get to put that into your hand. His -2 paired with all of the mana that we have just gives us access to some of the best artifacts in the game, and a lot of versatility with that. We then have our land, so before we go into the sideboard, we'll take a look at our land, our mana base. We have 14 forests, 2 Castle Garenbrig, which is great. It's essentially can tap itself as well as 4 other mana to add 6, so it can put you 1 ahead in some rare scenarios. So it's just good to have. We then have Besiju, who endures, a phenomenal legendary land. The only real interaction you have in this deck, other than things you can cast with Karn, and it is a legendary land that taps for a green, but you can also channel it by paying 2 and discarding it from your hand to destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player then can search their library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield. This bad boy, it makes me want to put 2 of these in the deck. Drawing 2 of them would be terrible, but just that little bit of interaction for only 2 mana, yes, they get a land, but sometimes that can just end the game right there. So, if you destroy a valuable artifact in some of these decks, or an enchantment that is allowing them to swing and now you can block it, I've had people just surrender from just this card. It's great. Finally, we have Cavern of Souls, a great one-of in any creature-based deck. When it enters battlefield, choose a creature. It can tap for a green, and those creatures can't be countered if they're of said creature type. So we just choose Elves, and there we go. When it comes to our Karn sideboard, we are looking at, so these top ones are the only ones we have access to when we're playing best of 1. These bottom ones are for when we play best of 3. We are going to cover everything, but I'm mainly going to focus on the best of 1. So first, we have a 2 mana artifact. Tap permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types until the end of turn. This is great with Karn's first ability, which doesn't allow them to activate abilities of artifacts. We can make something else an artifact, so that way they can't use the abilities of it. So just some great versatility. Then we have one of the strongest artifacts in the game, the One Ring. It's a 4 mana indestructible artifact that gives you protection when you cast it. It gives you protection until your next turn. Then, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each bird encounter on the One Ring. You can pay 1 and tap it to put a bird encounter on the One Ring, then draw a card for each bird encounter on the ring. This is phenomenal. This card does so much for us. It can draw cards. It gives us protection for a turn. It's just great to have, and it's indestructible, so it's very hard for the opponent to get rid of. So the card draw and the protection from everything, which everything is a lot, is extremely useful. Then we have Sky Sovereign, this flagship. It is a 5 mana 6/5 with flying. Great sort of removal that you can use. It has crew of 3, which can be a little hard for us to get depending on where our board state is at, but it's just really good removal. And it's a flying 6/5. There are some occasions where I like to use it, but this is probably one of the lesser used cards in this sideboard. We then have Mindslave. This is a 6-mana legendary artifact that you pay for and tap it, sacrifice it to control target player during their next turn. Great when you're facing a combo deck and maybe you just need one more turn to pop off, and so you Mindslave them, waste their turn, or maybe they have a sack outlet and you can just force them to sacrifice all of their creatures. Mindslaver is another really useful card for specific scenarios. Another one would be Wormcoil Engine. This is a 6-mana 6/6 with Death Touch and Lifelink. When it dies, it creates a 3/3 worm that has Death Touch and another 3/3 worm with Lifelink. Really good, just helps widen the board state just a little more. I don't need it as much, but when I can't think of what I want to grab from this card board, this is normally what I grab. Then we have Platinum Angel. This is a 7-mana 4/4 flying, and you can't lose the game and your opponent can't win the game. So this is another great one for when opponents have infinite combos, and maybe not infinite because you don't want to wait forever, but when the opponent has no real way to close out, when they're going to close out the game, but they can't remove any creatures, that is the perfect time to cast something like this. I have had this win me the game before. Most of the time, they either surrender immediately or they're waiting for an answer. And in the time it takes them to find an answer, I'm able to flood the board and take them out. Finally, we have Portal to Phyrexia. This is another amazing card that I've learned to love. It is 9 mana, but it forces the opponent to sacrifice 3 creatures when it enters the battlefield. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, but it's a Phyrexian in addition to its type. So it forces the opponent to sacrifice 3 creatures, which is great. It then allows me to grab anything from their graveyard or anything from my graveyard and put it onto my battlefield. So if that's my graveyard, I'm recurring Elves that are going to help me out and widen my field even more. Maybe they played a power creature beforehand that they had to sacrifice, and now I can grab that massive creature, whatever it is, to play that and keep that on my side. So, it's extremely useful, and 9 mana sounds like a lot, but when you're tapping your Elvish Archdruid equal to your Elves or your Priest equal to your Elves, it really isn't that bad, especially when you can untap them with your Planeswalker or with the Wirewood symbiote. 9 mana isn't a lot. We are going to close off with our best of 3, and if you guys want to see me play this in best of 3, feel free to throw that down in the comments. I can get some games running. I've been practicing best of 3 a lot more, so it's been really fun. But when it comes down to it, we have a 1-mana 1/2. This is an insect. When it dies, you gain 3 life, and you can pay 1 green, sack it to exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. Just a little bit of removal that's nice to have. Then we have 3 copies of Disruptor Flute. When I do play best of 3, this is the card I'm typically sideboarding in. That's the one downside with the Karn sideboard, is you don't really have the sideboard versatility, but you have Karn who's there to grab anything you need during the game. But this card we do play a 3 of, because it has flash, it's 2 mana, and when it enters the battlefield, you choose a card name. Spells of chosen name cost 3 more to cast. This stacks too, so you can cast this with multiple flutes on the battlefield, making something cost 3 or 6 or 9 more to cast. It also has active abilities of the source, with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So essentially a Pithing Needle that also makes the spell cost more. It also has flash, which is huge. You can cast this at the beginning of their upkeep, so that way they're not able to put down that Phyrexian Obliterator that's going to ruin your board state. And so it's just a great card to have. Then we have the Stone Brain, 2 mana legendary artifact. You pay 2, tap it, exile it, and choose a card. Choose a card name, search their library, hand, graveyard for up to 4 of that card, and exile them. Essentially, it's a surgical extract that's also going to allow them to draw cards for each card that was exiled this way. So that does kind of suck, but having a surgical extract that you can pull while we're in game with Karn is really useful to have. Then we have Unlicensed Hearse. This is a 2 mana, and it is for Star, where the power and toughness are equal to the number of cards exiled from this. You can tap it and exile up to 2 cards from a graveyard, and it also has a crew too. So just a good value card. I haven't really played with this one too much. I just kind of have it on the sideboard. But Great way to get cards out of graveyards if you're facing some sort of recursion deck or any sort of self-mill. Just a good way to work around those things. Then we have Cityscape Leveler. This is an 8 mana 8/8 with Trample. When you cast it, or whenever it attacks, destroy one target non-land permanent. Its controller gains a tapped Power Stone. It also has Unearth 8. You can return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Essentially, it's going to delete something on the battlefield. It's nice to have. I haven't had to use, or I've used it once, but it isn't something I frequently grab. Typically, there's other artifacts that are good, but it can be good, and it's nice to have as an option. Finally, we have Darksteel Citadel. This is an artifact land with indestructible, taps for a colorless. Literally, it's only in here so we can potentially mana ramp us if we need to. If I have Karn on the battlefield and I need one more mana to do literally anything, maybe I need one more mana to cast our other Planeswalker, or maybe I already have the One Ring in hand, I grabbed it last turn, and now I need one more mana to play Darksteel Citadel and some other elves that I have. That's the only reason it's there. And it's nice to have. It's just a little bit of versatility. Could be dropped, but helps out in the long run. So with that, that is the deck list. Like I said, I got this from MTG Joe. He's awesome. But we're going to go ahead and hop straight into the games because this deck is a lot of fun, y'all. All right, so for our first game, we have quite the funky hand. We don't have any way to get some mana, but we do have some really good utility cards where if we could find any mana dork, we'd be in a good spot. So we're going to go ahead and keep this, play our forest into an Allosaurus, and we'll see what we are up against. Playing against a Delver deck. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and drop Sky Shroud to hopefully seek something that's going to be useful. Which we seek Alana War Elves, which isn't bad, but not ideal. God, I love the art on Delver. Always been one of the cooler looking cards. So he drops a Curious Obsession. You know what? He's out of mana, so we're just going to go ahead and double block this. So that way we kill the Delver. Because we do not want him to get the card draw that he's looking for. What are we looking at, bud? Are we stalling? Is that what we're doing? So with this, we got a Lana War Elf next turn. Hopefully we can draw a land. They're playing 14 land, so I guess we'll see. We did have a land in hand. Okay. So we'll go ahead and drop a Leaf Crown Visionary into a Wirewood Symbiote. So this gives us the ability to remove the Visionary if need be. So it's either he targets the Symbiote if he has some targeted removal, or we just get to take the Visionary back to hand. Alright, so this is another Modern Horizons 3 card. 1/2, when it deals combat damage, draw a card. Okay. Go ahead and take our turn. Looking at another land. Let's go ahead and drop a Lana War Elf. We'll pay 1. We get a second land. So this time we're just going to play our Sky Shroud and not pay. Let's seek something that isn't... Seek another Sky Shroud. I'll take it. Go ahead and wait up from here. So now if he does attack with his little frog, we'll go ahead and block with our Sky Shroud. I ain't too scared to lose her. We can discard a card. Return target creature to its owner's hand. He gets to scry, so not too much we can do about that. But when it comes to black removal, I guess he's got some options too. I think we still sack the Sky Shroud just because we're sitting on another one in hand. So, I know you're going to swing. He gives her flying. Okay. Go ahead and block. He'll have to discard another card. This is a unique deck. I've never faced a deck like this, so maybe this is, I don't know, this is just the new sort of, not mono blue, but the blue aggro deck, I'm guessing. Yeah, it looks like it. Inquisition, he's gonna take our Wirewood. That sucks. Go ahead and forest. Do we forest into a Karn? Huh. What would we want to grab? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. We're going to play a Sky Shroud. Then we'll go ahead and pay and pray it's not a land. It is a land. Nice. We get a War Master. I will take this any day of the week. Go ahead and pay, and we get a Priest. Okay. Huge news. Huge news. We'll go ahead and swing with our Leaf Crown for 1. Four, 5, 6. So we're sitting on 6 mana next turn. We can play our Priest. Ooh, he could take our Priest, but he's going to take the Karn. Alright. That is shitty, but it's not the end of the world. I think we're going to Garen Brig next turn, so that way we can pop off our War Master ability. And his hand's starting to run pretty darn low. Let's see, we still have 2 more Sky Shrouds, right? No, we're down to our last one if we block this. But we're going to. Okay, so we'll go Priest. We'll pay our 1. That's unfortunate. And then we're gonna have to go Wirewood here. And we'll just swing with all these guys. So he will get some card draw, but he's sitting on 2 mana. I ain't too worried. Oh, nice. Okay. So whatever he blocks, we can just bounce. Cool. So we'll just do this. And then we will get to swing. We do lose our Lord effect, but we get to recast it, which is awesome. So now that we do have the Wirewood in our hand, we can do some tricky stuff with our Lana War Elves, so we can get more Leaf Crown triggers and more War Master triggers. It all just depends on our board state, what we're looking at. So he's going to give this Frog flying, so that way he can swing through. He's just got to do it. Cool. So nothing we can do about it this time around. He takes his draw. Let me guess, we hit our land? No. Alright, Flying Hexproof. When it enters battlefield, target creature an opponent controls. If you do, get 3. Then sacrifice that creature unless you pay. So he's gonna sack the Wirewood. He's gonna steal the Wirewood. Okay, that's fair. But he gave me a flyer, which I will block his Frog with. So I'll take it. I ain't upset. We do get no tricks though. So we'll go ahead and play our Cavern. Naming Elves, we'll play our Elvish Mystic. Go ahead and draw 1. Now as long as we draw anything that's not a land, we're pretty happy. Go ahead and play our War Master. Draw 1. We get a Karn. So we'll go ahead and play Karn. Which leaves us 4, 5, 6 mana, 7 mana remaining. So let's minus and see what we can grab. We're sitting on 7. I'd say Platinum Angel would be cool, but I don't think it's a good idea. Skyship Sovereign might be the move here. We get rid of his frog with that one. So I think that's going to be the move. We'll go ahead and cast it. And if I remember correctly, these do not get haste. No. So tapping it and attacking this turn wouldn't do anything for us. Go ahead and target this bad boy. No way to give it hexproof. He can give it +1, but he has to discard a card. Which I'm not going to lie. Did not think about that. Not upset about it at all. So we'll go ahead and do some swinging. 1, 2, 3. We won't swing with the Drake. We'll go ahead and sack the Wirewood. And this game's looking pretty much like cake. I think we got it. Curious Obsession, cool. He does not have enough cards in the graveyard to fly his frog. So let's see what this last card is. Can he play it? He can't. Yeah, you don't even have flying, bud. So go ahead and swing. We'll sack an elf. He discards a card, which is cool with me. Oh, and gives it flying. Smart. Smart man. Okay, well, as much as I would love to, I'm going to go ahead and block. Pass. So, main reason is now he's got literally nothing. And that's game. Alright, let's head to the next one, boys. Alright, so we're looking at 2 Crown Visionaries. We're looking at a Priest, an Allosaurus, a Besiju. I think we're just going to keep this. It's not a crazy hand, but it's not a bad hand. And if they have a boatload of removal, we'll be sad. But I think that doesn't... I think no matter who it is, we'll be sad if they got a bunch of removal. God, I love this fish. I wish I bought this companion. Alright, we'll forest into our Allosaurus. Oops. You know, I never really used the shuffling or sifting cards in hand feature. Oh, and we're facing the mirror. So this is perfect for our priest. I'm gonna go ahead and priest this turn, because these Leaf Crown Visionaries can trigger even on the turn they're cast. Unless Buddy has some mono green removal. Pounce? Question mark? No. Nope, we're just casting some elves. There's his Leaf Crown. So we'll go ahead. Cast Besiju. Cast our Leaf Crown. Go ahead and cast the Lana War Elves. Tap him for 6. Cast a second Leaf Crown. Go ahead and tap. That's very unfortunate. Not something you want to see. And then we won't swing, because we might just end up swinging with our Allosaurus next turn. Sitting on these 2 forests makes me a little sad, not gonna lie. There's his own Allosaurus, which we won't have mana for this turn. My turn. We get a secondary priest, so we'll drop it. Pay 1. Don't want that cavern. Pay the next. Get a Lana War Elves. I think we're going to drop it as well. Pay 1. Pay the next. Get another priest. Huh. 4, 5, 6. So we can only +1 time. And we get an 8/8, 2 7/7s, and another 8/8. He probably doesn't even block, and then he wins on the next turn. So I think we're just going to be greedy, and we're going to fill up our whole hand. That would have been nice to grab, but it's okay. All right. Yes, this was very greedy. We're probably going to have to sack some stuff, but I'm not sad. I will take it. There's his own Mono War Elves. Or Elf. Yeah, but he's going to be sitting on a lot of mana. So unless he gets mana screwed the same way we did, he could be having a very similar turn. I say the same way we did. We only drew 3 mana in a row, 3 lands in a row. So it's not the end of the world. Is he just going to plus? He's just going to plus. Oh my gosh. All right, bud. I am so sorry for what's about to happen. So, we'll go ahead and cast our Freya. We have 3 guys that tap for 15, y'all. Play our Sky Shroud.
I take no counsel with trespassers. Fight or leave.
1. I don't get trample, do I? I do not get trample. That's a downside. Come on. Thank you. I'll take that dub. Easy win. And I'll be honest, y'all. I'll be honest. We literally... Like, there's nothing he could do. Ignore this. This doesn't matter. Season just reset. Oh, and I lost the battlefield. The priests were all tapping for 15. There was nothing he can do. But anyways, I'll catch you guys back in the next one. Alright, so for our final match of the day, we are looking at 2 Wirewood Symbiotes, a Priest, and 2 Sky Shrouds. I am not that satisfied with this hand, so I think I'm going to mull. First mull. Oof. This one is rough. 1 Forest, but we get a Priest, a War Master, 2 Visionaries, a Mystic, and a Shepherd. We're going to ditch one of the Visionaries, and we're going to play this. It is very greedy if we're facing mono green, though. Hear me out, y'all. We're facing mono green. He puts down an elf, we drop Visionary right now. Oh, he puts down an elf. Not Visionary, I meant Priest. Yeah, we go and drop this bad boy. Go and drop this. Mana is multiplying by the second. 2 mono green decks in 1 session is a little crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, you ain't gotta worry about them counters, bud. So right now, 6, 7, 8. We tap for 8. I think we're gonna take 1 more standard turn. Alright, so 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, or no, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We tap for 10. Which, artifact-wise, it gets us some stuff. But let's go ahead and cast our Leaf Crown into our War Master. We'll pay. Oof, another Karn does make me a little sad. Guess we'll go ahead and cast a Karn. We get 2 mana. What can we play? You know what we can play? It says unless they're mana abilities. Active abilities of artifacts your opponent control can't be activated. We are gonna play Liquid Metal Coating. This is the time, you guys. Put this on their upkeep. And then we'll go ahead and pass. Enter. So now on their upkeep, we're gonna go ahead and tap Liquid Metal Coating. Tapping, or casting it on their Archdruid, making it a artifact. And now, perfect demonstration. Love this. This bad boy is an artifact and can no longer tap for mana. So now he's only got 3 mana. If I was him, I'd FF right here. That's the game. That's it for me. If he doesn't FF, we're going to cast Phyrexian Portal, and it's still going to be game. Actually, we don't even have to. We would just go ahead and swing with our Allosaurus. So he's going to play Circle of the Dream, Druid, widening his board up a little bit. His Archdruid can't do anything, which is beautiful, the exact way I want to see it. We'll go ahead and Karn again. This time grabbing... We could grab Platinum Angel just for funsies. We could grab Mindslaver just for funsies. But we're going to go ahead and grab Portal. We will cast this bad boy. He's going to sack his 2 tokens and probably the Circle of Dream Druid. Let's see. Token, Circle of Dream. Or token, War Master. Yeah, that's just GG. Alright, that one was quick, and we were looking at 2 back-to-back mono green games. Let's rush this last one real quick, yo. We are looking at a Cavern, Llanowar Elves, a Priest, and 2 Archdruids with a Crown Visionary. We do have a Lurrus in hand, which does scare me. But we're going to go ahead and keep... I think the Llanowar Elf is the reason I'm keeping this hand. Because I trust... Well, I can tell you what. We're not playing against mono green elves. But I trust that I should get a land, right? I shouldn't get mana screwed. So, this is just another... All of these kois, dude. I wish I played Arena during the... What is it? Gosh, I don't want to mess up the set. Is it Kamigawa? During the set of which all of the kois were, they were just beautiful. So, it looks like we're going to be facing a Ninjas deck, which is one of the more enjoyable deck listings. I'm going to go ahead and just play an Archdruid this turn, so that way next turn I can Visionary and Allosaurus Shepherd while getting a Lord on the battlefield. Versus just playing Titania, the Priest, that turn, and then playing the Allosaurus Shepherd. And I'd just rather do it this way. I like the Lord being down there. So he's going to get some card draw. Luckily, there weren't too many cards. I don't think there were any cards for Ninjas in Modern Horizons 3. So we're going to get some pretty free reign out here. Go ahead and drop you. Do we drop our Priest? Let's see. So they have no board wipes. Do we just drop another Archdruid? We just drop another Archdruid. Okay. So next turn we Visionary, Priest, Allosaurus, Elvish Mystic. Because we're sitting at 8, 9, 10 mana in hand. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, with 10 mana we draw plenty of cards. We will... Does he have a Death Toucher? He probably has a Death Toucher. I'm trying to remember which one it is. We can't block you. What is the Death Toucher? We're just going to block. I can't think of which card it is, but I know he has one. It wouldn't have been a bad idea to wait, because we'll have some chump blockers. 1000 Face Ninja. Which is going to duplicate... Okay, so he didn't have a Death Toucher. But he will get a second draw trigger. Not second, but his first. And an Ornithopter. Okay. We can take that. So we're going to play our Leaf Crown. We still have all the mana we need. There's a Karn, which... Is there something in our Karn board to prevent cards from being casted for free? Or not casted from hand? I feel like there is, but I'm not 100% sure. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get as many creatures on the battlefield as we can. Go ahead and pay that. Drop this bad boy. Pay 1. 2. That might have been a little excessive. Do we drop the priest? There's no way they have board wipes. We're taking this game away right now, guys. If you haven't caught on, this is officially our game. I'm gonna go ahead and drop both of these wirewoods, so that way we can bounce anything back to our hand if need be. And then we'll drop all three. We don't need to swing with the 4/4. They could hit us with anything. There's no infinite damage combo here. Let's see. If they draw... Yeah, it doesn't really matter what they have. We'll go ahead and block the token with one of our Elvish Mystics. They do get to bounce the Thopter, and they do have a Silver Fur. So this is the only real combo that they're going to have, which they're going to do that, casting the Thousand Face Ninja, copying the Silver Fur. They're going to get to do that 0 more times. Oh, he fucked up the combo too. Well, that really sucks. Real quick, to walk you guys through that, I do love playing ninjas. I have another ninja deck that I like to play. Essentially, you would have Thousand Face on the battlefield, return Thousand Face with your Silver Fur, and then ninjutsu your Thousand Face out with your Ornithopter, so you return the Ornithopter to hand, using Thousand Face's ability to copy Silver Fur, making Thousand Face's ability cost less. And ideally, if you have a second one in your hand, you can then repeat this for as much mana as you have. He did not have the mana to do this. But guys, this deck is bonkers. We're, turn 4, maybe 5, and we're sitting at 16, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 30 mana right now with a Karn board. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. If you have not tried Historic Elves, it is my favorite way to play in the Historic format, especially with this Karn board. I love having access to all of these answers outside the game that I can just tutor. For 4 mana, I can tutor a bunch of different artifacts that can just win the game in some circumstances. So, like I said, if you haven't tried this out, I highly suggest giving it a try. It's extremely fun. Even if you don't have all the pieces, you can take out Karn and still have a lot of fun with this deck. So like I said, it's a lot of fun. You can play this deck without even the Karns, without the sideboard. You could play it without the Freya. Really, you just need your Archdruids, War Masters, your Priest, the Sky Shroud, the Leaf Crown Visionary. There are some cards you gotta sink into. Like, I would highly suggest getting the Mythic, using the Mythic rare cards for your Allosaurus, or using your rare wild cards for your Elvish War Master or your Archdruid. But really, the rest of these you don't need. This land base could be all forest and you'd be perfectly fine. And then just build up from there. So, like I said, I love playing this deck, you guys. If you guys want to see me use this in a best of 3 format, feel free to let me know. I've been enjoying playing it, and that'd be a little twist on the game. And other than that, I hope you all had a wonderful time. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. And for those of you who have been waiting for some content, I know I've gained a few followers between the last video that I made and this recent one. I'm sorry, it's been a minute. I got sucked into 3 shows, which have consumed almost all of my time. So that was, let's see, Ted Lasso, which was phenomenal. I binged it almost indefinitely. It took way too much of my time. I was basically just playing Magic or whatever video game I was on while I was watching Ted Lasso. Then The Bear Season 3 came out. Holy crap, I'm still on it right now, binging that. A bunch of animes I like too also just started coming out, and so that's My Hero, Demon Slayer, and I haven't had the most time to record. So I appreciate those of you who have followed and joined, and like I said, let me know if you have any suggestions. I've had people suggest things in other videos, thrown it in the deck, had a lot of fun with it. So any suggestions, I'll gladly take it. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.